Hey guys, in this tutorial we are going to explore the text block a little deeper and take a closer look. So here we are back in Visual Studio and with a blank WPF application. So far all I did was add 2 columns and 4 rows to my grid. That being said, I'm going to collapse these 2 items and add a style that's going to apply to my text blocks that I'm going to add. So I'm going to open a window.resources tag here and close it. And within my open close tags, I'm going to add a style. And I'm going to target the text block control. And all I want to do right now is set the font size property to a value of 33. That's all for now. Okay, next we are going to add a couple of text blocks. All right, let's collapse those to get them out of the way. All right, okay, so let's add a text block to the first column, first row, so text block. And I'm going to set this text property to WPF and close this. So again, our style applies and it sets the font size to 33, so we don't have to set every time. Okay. I'm going to add another one that's going to be in the first row, second column, so text block. And this one, I'm going to set the text in a different way, which is between the open close text block tags. And actually, I need to set the grid.column first, so it shows up in the right place. Okay, so we set the grid.column to 1. That's going to be over here. So let's add our text. I want this to say text block. Quite simple. Okay. So we have a typo. We have 2 text blocks. One says WPF and the other one says text block. Okay. This first one, I want the text to be aligned to the right. So I'm going to set the text alignment to right. Okay. Next, I'm going to add a couple more text blocks with a little longer strings. So let's go ahead and do that. Text block. This one is going to be grid.row1. So let's set the grid.row1 to 1. And the text will be, I want this to say, let's actually close this at the end so we can type in here. And so text is visible. Yep, okay. So I want this to say WPF and put a separator there. And then type in bold, comma, beautiful, comma, striking. Okay. Next, I'm going to add another text block with the second way, where we type in the string between the text block open closing tags. So text block again. This one is going to be grid.row1 and grid.column 1, open close. And let's type in the text, same text. I want to add, let's actually copy and paste the same text here. And change this to actually text block instead of WPF. All right, so we got 2 long strings. Let's run this. Okay, so we have 2 long strings in the second text boxes. So that's as right off the bad. We have a problem. Our content, our strings doesn't fit inside the text blocks. So we are going to solve that problem first. Okay. There are a couple of ways doing it. With the one on the right, I can go inside here and let's say right after the beautiful, I can insert a line break, and that will break the line, and the string that comes after it will go on to the second line. That's one way of solving it. Let's run this. So now this one looks fine, and that line break always stays at the same place. It doesn't change, it doesn't adjust, it just breaks the line right after the beautiful word beautiful. Okay, but we can't use the same line break in this format, in the first format. So here what we can do, we can use something called text trimming. Text trimming. This property, we'll set this to character ellipsis. There are three of them. None, obviously is none. And the second one is word ellipsis. So let's first use the character ellipsis, and then we'll explain the other one. So the character ellipsis, let's run this. So the character ellipsis will go all the way to the end. It will fit as much as text or string possible inside the text block. And the last three spots, last three character spots, gets trimmed and inserts three dots. So, but as you resize your window, the content will show up. So that's character ellipsis. The other one, the word ellipsis, is similar. Instead of based on characters, it'll based on words. So if it can't fit the word striking in there, it will remove that, and let's actually test it out. Sometimes doing it is better than talking about it. So right now, as you can see, I removed the word striking completely and added three dots at the end of the beautiful. Okay, whichever fits your needs. I kind of like this one character. It uses the whole size of the text block, so just I guess matter of preference. So line break, again, it's kind of I don't know, solid. I'm not a big fan of it, but at least it's something to consider if you need. There may be a situation where you need to actually break the line at a certain position, then you can use the line break. So for this guy, I'm going to use another solution, and that's a property called text wrapping. So text wrapping has three values: no wrap, wrap, and wrap with overflow. So let's try. I guess there's no reason to try no wrap. That's similar like none. And let's use the wrap actually. So wrap will wrap around the string, and the part that doesn't fit in will move to the next line. So a lot of times you will be using this, I feel like, because I use it quite often if it doesn't fit in one text block, I mean one line. The other one is wrap with overflow. No big difference, but let's stick with the short one for now. Okay, so that's text trimming and text wrapping. Okay, two solutions that actually, let's run this and resize the window. Those are dynamically resized. So if your window's resized, the string will resize as well. It's dynamic, so quite useful. Okay, so those are the couple of solutions where you have a little you have long string, lines of strings. Okay. All right, next up, we are going to try to split the string into words, and let's work that way. All right, next up, we are going to use the same long string in a different way. In other words, we're going to split the string into multiple pieces. So let's go ahead and add another text block. This one is going to be grid.row2, and we don't have to set the column. I'm going to open close it. So between my text block tags, I'm going to add text block dot inlines. Okay. So here we are going to use run text. For the first word, I want to bind to my WPF word here, so I'm going to be binding that. So I'm going to close my curly braces. I'm going to bind to, and of course, in order to bind to it, I'm going to need a name. Let's call this T1. So I'm going to bind the element name T1, and path is going to be text. Okay, so that's good. So the next will be the same as here, but in each word will be separate. So run text, and this one is going to be separator character, and the next word is going to, actually I'm going to copy and paste this to save some time. Change this to boat. Next word is going to, actually I need the commas here too. So comma. Next word is going to be beautiful. Comma. And the next word is going to be striking. Okay, again, it doesn't fit in there, so we're going to use text wrapping for this guy as well. Text wrapping, and we'll set this to wrap. All right, so we got each word separately added to our text block. Now let's do the same thing with the other way. So I'm going to add another text block and place this in grid.row2 and grid.column1, and close my tag. And inside my tag, I want to start typing. So text block, text block, and I want to wrap this with a element called span. Actually, let's leave this alone for now, and let me copy and paste the string from up top here. Going to copy and paste this from here. Okay, and then we'll wrap it with span elements and things like that. So I'm going to paste this right here. So we have the string here. Let's run this once and make sure it doesn't break. Okay, all right, so everything's working fine. We have to set the text wrapping on this one. Let's go ahead and do that first. So I'm going to add a text wrapping property here. I'll set this to wrap. Okay. So what I want to do, let's start with this one again, go back to this one. So what I want to do here, I want the first word to have a background color. We were the WPF, so I'm going to set the background, and let's set this to light gray. Okay, so our WPF now have background, and the second word I want to make it bold. So font style, actually font weight, it's going to be bold. Actually, it's the incorrect one. I want the word bold to be bold. So that wasn't the right one place. So I'm going to set this right here where it says bold. Okay, so now we have bold here. The word beautiful, I want that to be, let's see, font style. I want to set this to oblique. Similar to italic, it's a slight difference though. It's a little more italic than the italic. Okay, and this guy here is striking. I want this to be strike through. So this one is going to be in text decoration property. So let's find that property, text decoration. And I want this to be strike through. Okay, let's run this and take a peek. So we got background here, bold here, oblique, and strike through. Let's do a similar thing here. It's going to be a little different though. So here we're going to wrap this text with a tag. So Control KS, I'm going to use a tag. Default tag is grid. I'm going to change this to, well, actually, yes, I'm going to change this to a span. I'm going to set the background to light gray. Okay. For bold, for the word bold, I'm going to do a similar thing, a little different. So instead of grid, I'm going to type in bold. Okay, now the keyword, the word bold, it's bold now actually. Okay, for beautiful, I'm going to use the italic. So Control KS, wrap it with word italic, keyword italic, and that's going to set the style to italic. Okay, and for the last one, we'll do the same thing. Well, actually, it's not the same thing. It's going to be span. We're going to use the span keyword to wrap it, just like the first one, and then set the text decoration to strike through. Okay, let's run this and take a closer look. Okay, so we got background, font weight bold, font style oblique and italic, and then we got strike through. I'm going to add actually one more word, and that's going to be colorful. So I'm going to go back here, do our run text, and let's add the word colorful. Okay, put a comma after this word striking. And for this guy, I'm going to set the foreground to red. Okay, do a similar thing here. I'm going to add a comma first after the striking, and then add a span. Set the foreground to blue and type in the word colorful. Okay, let's run this one more time. All right, so we got background, font weight, bold, font style, italic, and the text decoration strike through, and foreground color of red and blue. Okay, so that's a lot of things. So before we move on to our next example, I want to touch on something here. Up here, when we use run text format, notice we separated each word on a different line. So in other words, we did the first one here, second one here, and so on and so forth. That automatically adds the space between the words. If you don't want that space, just get rid of the line or just don't leave any space in between, and that will eliminate the space between the words. But if you want to put the space in between, either manually hit the space key or hit the enter. In both cases, you will be adding space in between the words, which will be most of the cases probably. Similar thing here with the other way of doing things. So here I manually added space between the tags, between the span tags, between the bold tags. So here I have a space here. Here we got space. Here we have space likewise. And this one we didn't add space, and as you can see, the word colorful is attached to the previous word. So we need to put a space in between the two. Okay, so I just want to touch on that before we move on to our next example. So for our next example, I'm going to add a couple more text blocks. Let's add the first one. It's going to be create.row 3, and we're going to use this format here. So I'm going to grab these two. Actually, first I'm going to add the, let's copy and paste this stuff here. Then we can delete some of the stuff that we don't need. So Control copy and paste. I'm going to remove these 3 actual lines from there. And I'm going to also get rid of the middle one. So with this one, what I want to do, first I'm going to get rid of this color here and make it gradient color. So I'm going to select properties while I'm still in that line. My cursor is still in this line. I'm going to click on properties, select the foreground, and change this to, instead of a solid brush, I'm going to select the gradient brush, and that's going to convert to black and white gradient, but let's change this to something else. So let's do the first color as red and the second color as green. So green to red. Okay. And let's actually make this bold as well. So font style, bold, my bad, font weight. So it's bold. And this guy here, I'm going to do the background. So I'm going to select that, move my cursor over it, and go with properties again and select the background, change it to gradient brush, and let's do the same thing with this guy. This time it's the background though. Similar thing, that's too dark for the text, so let's lighten up a little bit. Oh, let's try a different color. Not sure, but you can play with it. Actually, let me go in here and say light blue to light light blue, light green. That's fine. So you get the idea. So we have the background, gradient background, and gradient foreground. All right, let's run this. Okay, pretty good. All right, and next example, it's going to be, we're going to use this last example, but apply something else to it. So that's going to be, let's see, I'm going to go into the second one here. So the word, I'm looking for the word colorful, and I'm going to set a property called baseline alignment, and I'm going to set this to superscript. So now we got this one is set to superscript, so it stays above the line. Okay. All right, if you run this, and then there you have it. You have a different look. All right. All right, so that's the XAML part. The next and last example will be some C# fun, and we're going to create a nice animation. All right, stay tuned. All right, before we head to C# part, I'm going to comment this whole XAML part out. All right, up here, let's comment this stuff out. And let's give a name to our grid. So I'm going to call this my grid. Okay, and let's head to code behind. All right, so back here, I'm going to clean all this stuff up. Okay, so we are in the code behind file, and let's create a method. So void, let's call this blink. Okay. So first I'm going to create a text block. And call this TB, new text block. All right, let's give it some text. Text block.text equals blinking text block. Let's get a font size. TB.font size equals, let's go with 65. make it nice and large. TB horizontal alignment, that's set to center, horizontal alignment dot center, and TB dot vertical alignment equals vertical alignment dot center. And what else do we have? All right, let's tell the grid to add the children dot add, pass in the text block. All right, and let's call this from the main, right inside the constructor. So let's call this blink. It's not going to blink yet, but we'll get there shortly. So when we run this, we should see this text block in our grid. Let's run and see what happens. Okay, all right, we have our text block. That's all good. So now we are going to try to make that text to blink. And we need a few things. First, we need an animation. So let's comment this stuff out. Create text block. All right, up here, we're going to create a color animation. So color animation, let's call this animation equals new color animation. And in here, we are going to use the third overload, I believe, where we need to pass in the from value, to value, and duration. So from white colors dot white, the to value is going to be colors dot red, and the duration is going to be new duration. Oopsie, new duration, and in here we're going to pass in time span, new time span, and we'll pass in nanoseconds here, which is going to be 1 million, so it's roughly around 1 second. Okay, and then we need to set some of the couple of properties. So animation dot auto reverse set to true, animation dot repeat behavior, we'll set that to repeat behavior dot forever, and that's it. Next, we're going to need a solid color brush. So let's comment this out. Create solid color brush. So solid color brush, let's call this SCB equals new solid color brush. And in here, we're going to pass in solid color brush dot begin animation. We need to pass in a dependency property called solid color brush dot color property along with the animation we created up here. We'll pass that animation in. Okay. Next, we are going to add text effect. So add text effect. All right, so text effects, TE, or let's call this effect, new text effects, effect dot We need to set a couple of properties here. Let's say position count will be int dot, that means int dot max value, that means the whole text. Effect dot position start, we'll set that to 0, that means it's going to start from 0 position. And then we'll come down here to our text block, and then we're going to say text block dot effects text block dot text effects equals new text effect dot collection, and then tb dot text effects dot add, we'll pass in the effect we created up there. And let's try this out, see what happens. And nothing happened. All right, let's find out why. Let's go up here to our effect. We didn't pass in our color brush to our effect, so we're going to add the color brush now. So effect dot foreground equals, and going to use our solid color brush here. Okay, and I think that should do it. Let's run this and see what happens. All right, so now we got, actually it's kind of flashing. Let's make that blink. So if we increase this to 10 million and try that way, it takes nanoseconds. It should slow down. Now it's blinking. Okay. All right, so that's adding the animation to our text block text. Okay, one last thing I'd like to show you, I'd like to share, is that we can change what part of the text we want to animate. So here, this value is here, position start. So this will start from 0, which is the first letter. And let's say I want to only blink the first word, right? In that case, it'll be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this one should be 0. The max value, I'm going to change the max value to 7 and comment the rest out. So now we should see only the first word to blink, not the second part of the text. Okay, we missed out. We miscalculated the number of letters. So 2, 4, 6, 7 should have been 8. All right. So let's change it to 8 and run this again. And now we have only a portion of the text blinking. Okay, so that's it for now. Until the next one, take it easy.